being the fastest quarterback you've never seen. I'll be right back. There's no quicker way to get into DFS. Play Super Draft today and see for yourself.
We're behind. They're all fired up. What we got to do? First place, our defense has got to go out there and take the ball. Then when we get the ball, we got to have 11 people that's going to do their job and try to score every time you get the football. If we do that, we'll be all right. That will be all right.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Football University with Matt Caddell. This is me, Matt Caddell, former University of Alabama wide receiver, Roll Tide Roll. This is Football University, where we talk everything football from the pros, and we find some type of way to bring it back to Alabama. We know Alabama has a big game this weekend going to LSU. We will cover it. But let's dive right in. Again, I want to welcome you to the Football University presented by CTS Sports Room. I want to dive right in and let's see. I really want to talk about what really impressed me football-wise this weekend. And first, let's start with the NFL. Kind of to follow up the same thing, dive in what's football trendy, what I'm seeing here at being the analyst for Football University. What really impressed me this past weekend, looking at the Philadelphia Eagles, and as I talked last week, what makes them so deadly offensively is they have a system with Jalen Hurts that puts a lot of pressure on defenses, and they know how to really dictate to the defense. And you see them playing their system where they can run it. They're so ahead when it comes to Nick Sirianni's play calling, and the defense is playing lights out. Really impressed with the Philadelphia Eagles. But another team, as we see in the comments, Nick Saban Jr. says the Seattle Seahawks, and I have to give shout outs to Seattle Seahawks. Geno Smith, let's talk about it, man. This brother is he never wrote back when it came back to those receipts. Like I said, Pete Carroll watched that game versus handling the New York Giants, Brian Daboll, who's probably the number 3 team in the NFC East. Seattle just manhandled them. I mean, Geno Smith was spot on with some passes, the running game. Kenneth Walker. They've got a lot of freshmen or rookies, so to speak, that really make them very impressive. So I really want to talk about those are really 2 teams who impressed me. Another team, let's dive right into the Miami Dolphins, who are playing on fire right now. They had Tua back for a full week's prep, and watched that game, and they're just so effective with the wizardry Mike McDaniel. I really like how Tua was just accurate with the ball. I mean, he has Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill and the package, the play calling, the different looks. They have such a complex system that is so great. Really impressed by Miami. We will talk about them a few minutes later as teams that that really kind of took the step next level with the trade deadline. But we're going to stick with teams who impressed me. Number 3, I say obviously the Buffalo Bills, how they handled Aaron Rodgers in Buffalo. Buffalo is they are coming for Super Bowl to win that whole AFC. Very impressed with them, what they did, how they manhandled them. And then another thing, even though Josh Allen, he threw 2 picks, they did seem kind of beatable. They did seem a little bit beatable, but they are very good. The Buffalo Bills are for real. Don't be surprised if they are representatives of the AFC. Let's see. We got a lot of Roll Tide Rolls. Oh, we got the Bucks fans. Poor Tom Brady and the Bucks and Todd Bowles. I mean, they have all the pieces. I think they'll get it right away. But in that division, man, I want to talk about the Atlanta Falcons. My wife's a big Falcons fan, so Falcons rise up. But the Falcons, they're leading the division. Who would have thought it? And Marcus Mariota really pulling out with Arthur Smith in this offense, playing really good defense. Grady Jarrett, playing mismatches and matchups. It was a nail biter versus the Carolina Panthers. Shout out to P.J. Walker and DJ Moore making crazy plays, and that game was just upside down. It was just going back and forth. But one lesson we can learn from that game: kickers, you got to make kicks, and I think that's important for Bama. Alabama, we need to be able to put our players in good situations, and then especially Will Riker, and really punting the ball. We've got to improve that, just really all around special teams, offensively and defensively. We will get to Alabama football, and trust me, we got a lot to talk about. Another team who was very impressive, and I had to save them for last, the San Francisco 49ers. People, when I tell you Kyle Shanahan was in his bag, D'Amico Ryans, former Alabama linebacker, was in his bag defending Matt Stafford and Sean McVay. But the creativity, and this is probably a reoccurring theme that I want to see from Bill O'Brien, bringing it back to Alabama. He needs to be able to be creative. They acquired Christian McCaffrey, and in 10 days, this guy throws a touchdown, receives a touchdown, and runs from a touchdown. So, that's Kyle Shanahan was in his bag. Mike McDaniel's kind of from that kind of Kyle Shanahan wizardry, creativity, and I think that's probably one of the biggest frustrations from Alabama fans right now, wanting to see in the offense is creativity. We have so much talent left and right. We have so many things, and I think it's important that Coach Saban stays on Bill O'Brien's neck and Pete Golden's neck and on these team players' neck, and have that mentality like, listen, we have no room for error moving forward. Our playoff starts this Saturday in Baton Rouge. Like I said, let's get some creativity in the offense, have a balanced attack. So I talked about Buffalo. The Bills are no joke. Philly, the Eagles are no joke. Dolphins, San Francisco, the Seahawks. Another team was Baltimore Ravens. I know we had a Bucs fan, shout out to Tom Brady, but they played that Thursday night game, and you can just see where Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, the first half was really trying to go away from his strengths. And I think that's what we need to be doing at Alabama offensively, going to our strengths, but being creative. For example, the first half, Lamar Jackson was throwing the ball like crazy. I think he threw like 30-some attempts just in the first half versus Tampa Bay. Granted, Tampa Bay has a vaunted defense. Todd Bowles always has a great defensive-minded system. But they came out the second half, and you got to be able to make second half adjustments. And I feel like that was the biggest frustration from a lot of Bama fans. In the Tennessee game, we didn't make a lot of second half adjustments or adjustments defensively to really, propel ourselves, advance ourselves even more in the game. So this is an example. You have to be able to make adjustments and make, sound coaching decisions. So they came out the second half. Lamar Jackson was spot on. And Greg Roman got back into running his play, running the ball with Lamar Jackson and setting up the play action. A lot of single set receivers. But he played to their players' strengths, and they were able to look like the Ravens of old. So those are some of the teams that I was just very impressed with. But let's talk about teams who really made a shift, or teams who said, listen, it's 2022, we're going for the Super Bowl. And I love what we talked about the 49ers, how they acquired Christian McCaffrey. But I have to go back to the Miami Dolphins. Credits to Chris Greer. He took this is one team who is saying to the NFL, we know what we got with Tua. We know we have offensively play calling, and defensively, we know we don't want to get too far from Buffalo. And kudos to Chris Greer. They went and got Bradley Chubb, huge, important, vital piece when it comes to stopping defensively, getting to the quarterback, i.e. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, all these top-tier quarterbacks in the AFC. And I love the mindset. You heard Tua come out and say, one of his great quotes, she's like, we're not afraid to talk about Super Bowls. And I really love that, for that mindset, that mentality. And how I bring it back to Alabama, because I love bringing it back to Alabama. Alabama needs to have that mindset. No more of this being anxious or having anxiety coming out the tunnel. Have confidence. Be coaches. Let's put our players, let's give them as much confidence on and off the field to execute. Just be great on and off the field, but really go out and execute and improve throughout the game. And have that mindset. Let's be confident in ourselves, like the Miami Dolphins are, saying, hey, we're not afraid to talk about Super Bowls. I need Alabama to get back to that mindset of saying, hey, let's go win this championship. And it starts this Saturday in Baton Rouge, in Alabama. In Baton Rouge, versus LSU. Sorry, reading the comments. But yeah, the Miami Dolphins made noise. Kudos to Chris Greer. Gotta give him shout outs. He took that Laramie Tunsil pick and brought in Bradley Chubb, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle. Beautiful genius when it comes to being a GM. Another team who made a move to let the NFL know, the Minnesota Vikings. Let's talk about it. Irv Smith, we love Irv Smith, but Irv Smith has had some injuries, but they went in and got a tight end from Hockenson from the Detroit Lions. And I feel like the way Kirk Cousins, they're looking to win that division, and they let the NFL know, hey, we're ready to make some noise as well. Because as I talked about, the Philadelphia Eagles and my brother-in-law and my nephew, my brother, fly Eagles fly. I'm just going to say that the Eagles are in the building. The Eagles, when they acquired Quinn last week to their already vaunted defensive front, they let the NFL know we are going to the Super Bowl. They are putting people on notice. So then that put Buffalo Bills on notice. Buffalo Bills did not want to get out the sweepstakes. You hear a lot of things when it comes to OBJ and certain teams. Kamara was in some conversations, but the Bills didn't want to get left out. So they brought in Hines, from the Indianapolis Colts, who I feel like is really explosive. They brought in Marlowe, another DB, to kind of shore up that defensive secondary. I mentioned the Ravens early, but the Ravens, they made a move acquiring Roquan Smith to really kind of shore up that defensive front, to really give Lamar some help. I think they said to the NFL, we're ready to make some noise. But, to me, it's the Dolphins. The Dolphins really made moves defensively. in the front office. As long as they have Tua healthy, it's going to be interesting. So I need Alabama to get back to that mindset. So let's see. We have a few questions from the fans. We got a lot of Roll Tide Rolls. They said Alabama needs a balanced attack. Okay, let's talk about the Eagles. Like I said, the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, he's right now and probably, when it comes to MVP, he's in my top 5. He's probably right at that third or tie for second. But the Eagles are rocking and rolling. Like I said, they play tomorrow night, but they have a system that is very hard to beat, but it's basically putting the players in the best position to make plays and do what they can to win that division and win the championship and go to the Super Bowl. Okay, now I want to talk about trends of what I'm seeing offensively. And I kind of dove into this last week, but I feel like the next level for Alabama offensively is I mentioned being creative, but I think if we could mix it up, go into a little bit more I formation, I think that helps us out a lot. Being able to play I, and I looked at some teams able to play the I formation, and they are really messing up a lot of defenses who are typically trying to defend spread offenses, and teams getting into running attack I formations. You have to be able to run the ball in between tackles. You look at we talked about the Seattle Seahawks. Nick Saban Jr. said the team is taking on his identity. Yes, they are taking on their identity. That's what Alabama needs to do. I want them to have the mindset, hey, we're going to run the ball. This LSU game, you have to be physical. You have to be tough. Like, I know we have been blessed with some great quarterbacks and the vaunted spread offenses and throwing left and right and all that great stuff is good, but a lot of games we could use to control the game. When we up 30, 40 points, we can really rest the defense and get into some of these, be like Greg Roman, get in the I formation, go back to what's your strengths and run the ball. And I feel like if Alabama is able to do that, we can take the next level offensively. That was one of the trends I'm learning. Another thing that I feel like, and I have to touch bases with this, being a former receiver, watching top offenses be effective. I mean, you look at the Eagles with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, Gainwell. I mean, you look at the Buffalo Bills with Stephon Diggs. Most of these top teams have route running specialists, and I feel like that's what Alabama football kind of needs right now. We need to develop that more. Being a former Alabama receiver and watching, this is football university, and being a student of the game and watching the NFL and knowing what it takes to really, manipulate defensive backs, get that separation, running your route, all the little intricacies and details. I feel like that's what Alabama is lacking. So, Coach Saban, as you're listening, call me. I can tell you what drills to run to help those guys, to help at the top of the route. And the prime example of this was the Monday night game. Halloween night, the Cleveland Browns versus the Cincinnati Bengals, and Amari Cooper just let us know again why he is one of the greatest Alabama receivers to come through the University of Alabama, because he is a route running specialist. Like I said earlier, we're going to have to be able to line up in I formations and run the ball, be creative offensively, but at the same time, our receivers need to become more developed as being route running specialists. We have to be able to just, hey, I don't know if it's Ja'Cory Brooks, whoever's the hot man, we need to put the ball into our offensive players, receivers that can separate and catch the ball too. So You looked at Cleveland. Jacoby Brissett put on a really good game. The offensive line protected, but when they got the lead, they were able to key second and third down possessions. They let Amari Cooper do his work. And Alabama offensively, we need to be able to do that. A drive where we can go to a Ja'Cory Brooks 3 straight plays, or a Kobe Prentice, or a whoever. But we have to be able to feed those guys who are route running specialists and are able to separate. I feel like Alabama receivers need to get that or develop it at the top of the route, influence the defense, the secondary, and catch the ball. If we can do that, that's going to take Alabama to the next level. So let's talk about it. I've been talking about Alabama. Let's talk about Bama versus LSU in Death Valley, under the lights, the battle in Baton Rouge. As a former player, that is the only way I like to play that game. That's probably one of the most excitable games. But B, it is so live, or lit, as the young people say. Shout out to my nephew and niece. It is so lit, nighttime under the lights in Death Valley. And that's when the Crimson Tide get to wear that crimson, and we go in Baton Rouge. It is just, oh man, I was listening to Sean Alexander the other day talking about his memorable freshman game where I think he was third or fourth string, and he's ended up having to go in, and he scored like 4 touchdowns that really put Sean Alexander on the map. And he talked about the history of Alabama and Baton Rouge, going down there and really not losing. I don't think Alabama's lost. They had a streak of just being dominant in Baton Rouge. So I say all that. Bama needs to have that mentality Saturday, and we've got to let everybody know who we are. This is the game to show America. I mean, you saw the college football rankings. I mean, Tennessee's on fire, but seeing Alabama on being number 6, it's kind of different. It's different, uncharted territory. You're not used to it. So I hope, it kindles a fire in them to get things rolling. Really, Coach Saban. So let's go to these questions. Sorry. Let's start, Nick. Let's start with Spencer. Matt, he says, Matt, the Stickum gloves really work. A lot of people wear gloves. I was the type of the sort that I feel like being a receiver, being a route running specialist, to me, Jerry Rice was the standard. I mean, this guy only ran a 4.5, but he was a route running specialist, and he had hands. He said he grew up catching bricks because his dad was a construction worker in Mississippi, so he would just catch those big bricks, and he really worked on perfecting his craft of having strong hands, soft hands whenever you need to. So I'm the one, Spencer, to answer your question when it comes to Stickum gloves. I'm not into it. I know a lot of guys playing with gloves, D linemen, and linemen got the back flaps out, all that stuff. That's cool and all. Only thing I care about is how you play on the field. Are you a great competitor? Do you play with constant confidence, and are you executing? But I'm quite sure they work. I mean, you look back in the days of Balishnikov and the old school Raiders. I mean, they were just catching it with the hands, but they had some crazy stickum on it. So, yeah, I think they do work. But I say all that. Receivers, all to the young receivers out there, young athletes, if you want to play receiver, work on your hand-eye coordination. Try to work on juggling, always working on catching the ball from different angles. That's how you really work on your hands, always working on your craft. Be a student of the game. I feel like we need to be able to develop that at the University of Alabama, because we had it with Judy and Waddle and Devontae and all those guys. All those guys were premier stars. So we have the talent, but we need to develop those guys at Alabama right now. Somebody said Nick Saban Jr. Devontae Smith reminds me of Jerry Rice. Not the fastest, but the smoothest and crisp route runner. Yeah, I mean, we have to be able to have good routed runners. And listen, going against LSU, Keyshawn Boutte, as they say down there in Louisiana, he's a good route runner. I was watching them versus Ole Miss. Um, they're able to use him and get him in certain situations. Now LSU has a lot of speed in the skill positions. They're big up front, both offensively and defensively. The key for Alabama is really to lock down their receivers. Uh, Not to spill all the sauce of what I would do, but I think if we lock down the receivers, I look for Ricks and Kool-Aid to have a big game. If we're creative on defensively and we rush forward and get to Jaden Daniels, I think we can have a big game. And offensively, if we just come out, have a balanced, creative attack, feeding our guys, not being so Bryce dependent, I think we should be successful. Let's go to the callers. Hand-eye coordination doesn't mean video games. You're right. Hey, hand-eye coordination doesn't mean video games, Twitter, cell phones. It means actually putting in the work. And that's what, being an older guy, I know these kids have NIL and they're on Instagram and look at my bins, look at what I got, gas station photos. I mean, you know how the kids are. Like NIL is cool, but are you great? Are you are you getting better at your craft? And do you want to be great? If I was recruiting a kid, I don't care about this. All that NIL, if you come to me with NIL, I'm gonna be like, hey, listen, if you come in here and compete, you can take advantage of opportunities. But at the end of the day, I want to know, are you a great competitor or do you want to be great? Like, do you love the game? And that's one thing I would love to tell those young kids, man. Don't get so caught up in the NIL. Don't get so caught up in quick money. Get your education, try to graduate in 3 years with your bachelor's degree. And then your fourth year, if you're already, say you get drafted your third year, you're already set for life to have your bachelor's degree. And then if you let's say you leave your fourth year, you can work on your master's or something. I would tell kids to do that. Don't get so sidetracked by NIL, but get your education, but get better and be a great team player, be a great student of the game, just be a champion on and off the field. So work on your craft. You're not going to get hand-eye coordination playing video games. You got to get some juggles. Work on your craft, young kids. Work on your craft. Okay. Let's see. Spencer says, Matt, how do you think Mac Jones is really doing this year? I mentioned Mac Jones last week. I think for Mac, I think it's different layers. A, he's having a new offensive coordinator. B, Matt Patricia and Joe Judge are kind of his OCs. And C, I think Mac has got to run the offense better. And D, Mac has got to execute. Even though they won Saturday, New York Jets, I was watching the game before halftime, 2 minutes, they're kind of moving the ball. And Matt throws this unnecessary pick, and the guy's running back, and he got bailed out by a roughing the passer penalty. Like, I still need Matt to make wise decisions, run their offense. And I think since he had to learn a new offense and kind of understand and get more, rapport with Joe Judge and Matt Patricia and everything, I think Matt just needs to run the offense and execute at a high level. Let's see. Somebody said I would not sell NIL if I was recruiting. Man, listen, it's just that, the day and the age that we live in today. Social media, instant gratification. I think NIL is good, But me personally, and this is the Matt Caddell answer, giving y'all tips. Regards to NIL, instead of putting all the money to kids, I would rather put it in a trust fund. So, and I will have some different type of policies or some type of details in there where, hey, if a kid graduates in his third year with his bachelor and he stays committed to a team, he should have this certain amount in his, NIL on top of what he's gonna make. But have it set up in a trust fund so where the kids, when they graduate, they still have something that is kind of some, seed money that way they could use to kind of help propel them in life. We have a really good question. Matt, who do you think is the best QB in the Saban era? John Parker Wilson, AJ McCarron, Hurts, Sims, Mac, Tua. Who? Oh my gosh. Okay. So who's the best quarterback in the Saban era? Golly. That is such a tough question because AJ won 2 national championships. So you got to put AJ up there because he was a gamer. He was a winner. He would make the plays. John Parker Wilson was the same type of guy that did not make a lot of mistakes. Mac Jones, I would take out, even though he had a great year, but it was mainly that 1 year sample size. Tua, everybody loves Tua. He's probably the most talented. He might be one of the greatest, but I think the biggest issue with Tua at Bama would be his injury prone. So obviously Tua is their talent level. So you have Blake Sims, ultra talented, Jake Coker, but me personally, I think it's a tie between Tua and Jalen Hurts. Best quarterback, Saban era, and who's probably the most talented out of all of them. Bryce Young could easily be the best out of all of them. Like, I got to put Bryce in there. So I have a 3-way tie. Hurts, Tua, Bryce Young. But we got to get Bryce Young a national championship. And that's something I want to talk about. Bryce saw Mac Jones win a national championship. We came so close to winning the national championship last year. We had leadership. We were thinking, the guys are just going to roll through. And we know the SEC is tough. And so we had a wake-up call versus Tennessee. But I think it's important. I know Bryce is a great leader, but I want those guys to really galvanize, led by Will Anderson. Let's win a natty. Like, let's put it on display Saturday in Death Valley and let everybody know who we are and that we are ready to go win a natty. Because Bryce Young is so talented. Like I said, he could easily be the greatest to come through. And I think it's important that we make plays and play sound football and really try to get Bryce a national championship. Spencer says, next week, going to have Griff Redmill on famous SEC champion, 1999 SEC champion. I got so many questions because I love that 99 Alabama SEC championship team. We're going to talk everything Alabama. So let's see. Who's going to be in the Super Bowl, in my opinion? I'm just going to go with what I said last week. I think it's the Eagles and the Bills right now. I don't see who's going to kind of get in their way. You could be the Chiefs. I think it's going to be Eagles, Bills. You could be Eagles, Dolphins. Now, I will say public service announcement. If it's Eagles, Dolphins, Tua, Jalen, That might be a Super Bowl I want to go to just to be there. I think every Bama fan, Coach Saban would be there. Everybody and their mama would be at that game. Uh, Eagles I got the Eagles in there regardless. They are Eagles Bills, but it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. Let's see. Let's see. We have a few more questions. Sorry. Okay, another point I want to talk about. I want to talk about. I talked about Tua, Jalen, but I really want to talk about Jahmyr Gibbs, the ultra talented offensive running back. I've talked about, hit on these notes about Bill O'Brien needing to, get creative with Gibbs and not be so predictable offensively and run outside zone. Outside zone. You can see versus Mississippi State, their linebackers knew what was coming because we're so predictable. So we have to be creative, really put the onus on the defense, and really dictate to them instead of having them dictate to us. But Jahmyr Gibbs, the two things that really impressed me from a running back standpoint this weekend, Alvin Kamara. It was some trade talks about him with the Saints and things like that, but he came out there versus the Raiders and put on a clinic. And I think from what I learned, this is football university. I'm going to find a way to bring it back to Alabama. If I'm Bill O'Brien, I'm finding different type of packages. How they use Kamara is how I would use Gibbs. I mean, mismatches with linebackers, safeties. I mean, let's get him going. Let's not have him doing the same play. Let's use him kind of like a Wes Walker or give him touches, but use him like a Kamara where he can, A, run between the tackles, just get him the rock. And B, I would love to see us use, Jahmyr Gibbs like Pollard. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys, say what you want to say. I know it's a lot of Eagles fans on here, but the Cowboys they rolled over the Bears without Zeke. And Pollard put on an absolute clinic. He's so explosive. A lot of people are saying they should start Pollard, but listen, like I said earlier, we have to be able to offensively, if Alabama wants to go to the next level, Bill O'Brien, we have to be able to be balanced attack, eye formations, a lot of pistol, not so much predictability offensively, but look at Kamara and Pollard and look how they use Pollard, Kellen Moore. I mean, he called a great game, and I was a little bit iffy how he was going to play call because how he called, I was wanting him to call the offense like he called it for Cooper Rush and not get so pass happy, feed it through the running game. And he's been that, he's explosive with that. So, speaking of the Cowboys, I feel like the Cowboys kind of, I talked about these teams who are going to the next level. You got the Eagles, you got the Bills, you got the Dolphins, you got the Ravens, you got the Vikings, teams that are going to the next level. And you got the Cowboys, and you got OBJ, and you got Brandon Cooks. And I feel like the Cowboys, listen, if they want to win at the link in the playoffs, they're going to have to really be on it offensively. And I thought they could have made a move for Cooks or, or somebody or Judy or somebody to really, put that offense over the top and really let the NFL know the Cowboys are going for the Super Bowl. But I think they're going to be good. Speaking of balled out, and forgive me, King Henry, for not mentioning you, is what impressed me. Shout out to the Tennessee Titans, Mike Vrabel. But Derrick Henry, the King Henry, ran Rupshaw. Crazy stat. Every time he has played the Houston Texans, he has ran for 200 plus. 200. Like, they should be filing assault or complaining to the police when Derrick Henry is coming in. Like, that is insane. Shout outs to King Henry. But one thing I love about the Tennessee Titans and Mike Vrabel, they have an identity. Even though Malik Willis was off or, he wasn't there kind of passing the ball, but I love the way they ran the ball, and they said, if you're not going to stop it, we're going to keep pounding the rock. And kudos to that offensive line, Ben Jones, those guys blocking. But, man, shout outs to Derrick Henry. I think he won AFC Offensive Player of the Week, and I think Tua won it in the other division. He won the FedEx Air Player of the Week. So, shout out to Derrick Henry. But I say this, Alabama needs to have that physical identity. I want Bama to come out and, like, when we come to Baton Rouge, like, let's let them know we coming here to be physical. If we a running back breaks through the hole, we don't need to be running out of bounds. Run that man over. Let him know we're going to be physical. Like, let's go. Let's get back to that tenacity, being physical, tough, confident. And I want our coaches to put our players in confident situations schematically. That way we make it easier for those guys to be successful, and we just maximizing all our talent that we have at Alabama. So I know Coach Saban's birthday was Monday, and happy belated birthday, Coach Saban, on Halloween. I mean, and an Auburn coach gets fired. I mean, who does that? Like, Saban is just, like, who does that? But anyway, I knew Coach Saban was in a great mode when they asked him about, some of the reporters Monday, they tried to come in and say, oh, hey, birthday Saban. And Saban was so locked in, he didn't even acknowledge him. He was just so ready for, like, strictly business. And I need Coach Saban to be mean Saban and be strictly business and, get back on those guys like how you used to get back on us, being hard on us. So another thing I'll say that I love to hear, that I heard from Coach Saban to keep it Alabama, he said, during the bye week, coming out the bye week, they were able to evaluate and improve on things schematically. And I think that was a way of Saban saying, we've got to get creative, a la Bill O'Brien, Pete Golden. We've got to be able to have a scheme that's simple and creative, and we're maximizing the most out of our strengths, our players. I mean, let's make it happen. So somebody said, bye, Harson. Tennessee 1, Georgia 3. Let's go. Let's see what else. They said they need to check Derrick Henry's birth certificate. So getting towards, the latter part of the show, we're talking about footballs and trends and a lot of Alabama, but I want to talk about my first experience in Death Valley. I will say that has got to be one of the livest place atmospheres it is. So, this is my relationship with LSU, and I'm just going to give it to you from Matt 101. So, I have this unique relationship with Coach Saban because, being, a recruit coming out of McAdoo High School, 1-1, that guy, LSU, I was big on LSU my junior year. So my junior year, it was 3 schools that I really would kind of like, really like. Obviously Alabama, LSU, and Auburn. I could have easily, but my junior year, I was kind of like thinking, man, maybe Auburn, LSU. And I remember saying, man, I really want to go to LSU because, the coaches, and you got to think, Coach Saban's the head coach, Jimbo Fisher's the offensive coordinator, Kirby Smart's on that staff, Muschamp's on that staff. And I'm talking about interacting with those coaches. They would bring you so much energy and enthusiasm, like, man, I want to go to LSU, but I didn't end up going. But so I've been recruited by Saban and all these guys, and it's just something about. So I was able to get recruited by Saban, and I was able to play against him. All right, so my red shirt year, my first time we go to Death Valley, and I never forget like the week of like that first Monday practice, coming out for practice, it is like you're already in LSU mode or whatnot. So, but one of my teammates, Anthony Bryan, he would play. He would basically play Hold 'em Tiger, which is LSU's kind of like theme song. And he would do that all throughout practice all week. And he would be like, Matt, I'm telling you. He's like, man, it's going to be crazy. I'm telling you, it's like nothing else. And so, you're thinking, you're anticipating. And then, granted, I have never taken a visit to LSU. But so all week I'm preparing, I'm just juiced up. And like, I'm just ready, confident, ready to go down to Baton Rouge and make plays. And so let me set the scene. So we get down there. Saturday, and like I think we stayed. I don't know. It was like I think we stayed in Baton Rouge, or I don't know. Anyway, so we get in there. So we're driving police escorts, and like you see Baton Rouge Stadium in a distance, and it's like evening time. The lights are lit up, and so we're driving. And I'm like, oh man, this is so exciting. You get, you're listening to your music, getting ready, getting mode, ready to compete, and so the closer we get there, so we're about a mile away from like the entrance to the stadium. So I remember coming down like this little hill area, and just coming down, and like, so we're probably about a half a mile from the stadium, but we're about to turn into like on the campus. And so I'm telling you, so it's like nothing but like field area. As soon as we made that left to go, into the stadium, you get swarmed by like LSU fans. Tiger bait. I mean, granted, you got to know the setting. It's LSU night game, so they've been eating good and partying and just getting ready for the game. So they are like on 10. And so when they see us, you see like a swarm of all these LSU fans coming to the bus. I mean, kids just giving you up singing gestures and language. And so as soon as we made that left, it started, everybody just focuses on you. And it's like, oh my gosh. Like, so the closer we're getting to the stadium, the crazier it's getting. It's getting more intense. So the closer we're getting to the stadium, the more things start getting rocked on the bus. The fans start becoming louder. So we're like halfway there now. And so, we have security and everything. It's still getting crazier and crazier and crazier. So the closer basically we get to the stadium, the more intense. So when we get ready to pull up, this is like peak chaos, mayhem. The bus is rocking, like literally bottles being thrown. I was like, oh my gosh. Bear was not in line. This is the craziest experience. I mean, from that moment on, I was like, I am so juiced up. Like, I can't wait to play this game. So I'm already ready to, go make a play. And like, so the away locker room, like, they just like crazy. You see Bama fans, LSU fans talking major noise. You get in the locker room, walk the field, and you come in getting dressed. You're like super hyped, ready to go. So we get ready to go warm up, and right when you come out the tunnel to go warm up on the field, it's like smoky flow everywhere because of like all the grill smoke and everything, and fireworks is just crazy. But when we come out the stadium, Mike the Tiger's cage is right there, And when we come out, they're like poking the cage, getting Mike the Tiger to go crazy and roar, kind of like doing all this intimidating factor stuff. And I'm just like eating it up. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, oh, I'm ready to get to showcase my talent versus Coach Saban. So I'm really ready to go. And then like we're warming up. They had the music on 10, and I was just like so ready to get loose. And granted, we're going against LSU. This is what Coach Saban's there. Marcus Spears, who's on NFL, we played against Mark. So we played the game. You know, I had a couple catches. Keith had a couple catches. Keith Brown, and we're playing the game. When I say, and so we're getting a huddle. This is when I knew Marcus Spears was the real deal truth. LaRon McClain, my former teammate, comes up to me. He's like, in the huddle, he's like, man, that Marcus Spears, man, he's so hard to block. He's so hard to block. And I knew Corey Webster was a top DB that they had in Daniels. And, you know, we got off on him. I was making plays, but I had this huge catch. It was like for 50-some yards, a diving catch I made in Baton Rouge and Death Valley. And I was like so turned. You know, we lost the game, but still, I was just so turned. I was so like ready to go because I like proved myself versus LSU in Baton Rouge versus Coach Saban, and it was like the best experience. So for me, as a former player, going to Baton Rouge, night game, that's the only way I want. I don't want to be playing LSU at no daytime. I want to play at night, where it's like you're behind enemy lines, ground zero, and like I need the players to come out and wake up and let's go execute and let's dominate LSU. So that is my story from my Bama LSU memory going in Baton Rouge. And like I said, I need Alabama to improve in a lot of areas. Let's go out there. Let's set the tone. Let's be physical. Listen, this is our playoff. I mean, we're ranked number 6. We have to go out there and show people who we are, show the football world who we are, and it starts versus LSU. So let's focus on them. Let's get a win. Let's go out there and ball out. And so thank you to all the fans. You know, tune in next Wednesday. We're going to have Griff Redmill, 1999 SEC champion. I cannot wait to talk football with him and just talk about those memories with Freddie Millens, who you know, him and Peter Ward for me were like my guys in high school. But all the fans, thank you for turning in. We will pick back up tomorrow. Hit that like button. Tune into Football University. Again, this is Football University with Matt Caddell. Roll Tide Roll. Y'all have a blessed week. Thanks.